Hey friends, Kevin here, and I wanted to do an update and address some questions that everyone had on this no-drill solar panel installation I did on this minivan. Number one, is 100 watts of solar going to be enough to run some type of battery system to keep a 12-volt refrigerator going all night? The answer is yes. If that is basically all that you are doing, you can charge and use some other things, a few minutes here, a few minutes there, recharge your cell phones or tablets or something like that. You could probably get by with running a laptop for a few hours. Anything more than that, you're probably going to want a little more solar. Number two, how much solar can you actually put on top of a minivan? Minivans are all about the same size. You're either going to have luggage racks or you are not going to have luggage racks. And that is going to take up a little bit of your space. In general, the best thing to do is just get up there with a measuring tape and measure and see what you have, especially the amount of width that you are going to have between the solar panels. Now, if you are doing 100-watt solar panels, you can lay them one next to another if you want to do two of those. That's going to max you out with that. You can get a single solar panel, and I'll link some of these down below. It's kind of hard to get up to 300 watts with a single panel that will fit on a minivan. It's possible the way yours is laid out, but there are a lot of solar panels out there that are 250 watts, 280 watts. That is probably about going to be really your limit. Unless you're doing something odd where you have solar panels sticking way out from the roof, different things like that. But for a standard, basic, kind of hidden installation, that is going to be your maximum. With this particular power station, my solar input limit is about 300 watts. And that's going to be the same with most of these unless you are into some huge power station. So all of that works out well with a minivan. Number three, what about stealth? Isn't it going to be obvious I have a solar panel up there? Kind of. The fact is, unless somebody is over top of your van looking down, they really aren't going to notice it. Someone standing beside of it, just walking by it down the street, through a parking lot, whatever. Now, a lot of these, the solar panel frame, because it is aluminum, is kind of a silverish color. That may clash with whatever color the rest of your van happens to be. In my case, I have a gray van, but I have black colored luggage racks. So that solar panel does stand out a little bit more than I would like, but the frame, all I have to do is paint it with black paint, then it's going to blend in with the luggage racks that are on here from the factory. Problem solved. Number four, is it better if you end up with more than one solar panel, is it better to wire these things in series or parallel? Here's your answer. So if you do a 100-watt solar panel, and let's say you decide to add another one 6 months later, this is the way you are going to wire it. You are going to buy what is called a little Y cable, Y adapter. You will do your plug-ins and it will drop those two panels down into one set of connectors to go on and run to your extension wires and into your system. It will simply merge that together. It will keep everything running the right way as far as amps and wattage and that sort of thing. You can get into much more complicated systems. You can get into, instead of 12 volts, you can get into 24 volt and 48 volt systems, but this is stuff that is generally only done on big RVs or someone doing some type of monster setup that is trying to live off-grid in their home and they have 12 solar panels. For you and I, who are out trying to do van life in a minivan or a cargo van, and we are only going to have one or two panels, do it the simple way. Don't worry about it. It's going to be fine. Number five, why did I only put 100 watts of solar on here? The answer is because I had this extra kit sitting around. I'm putting off doing it because I intended on putting a larger solar panel on here. And in all honesty, I probably will. because I have that other van and it's larger. I have more space. I have two 100-watt Renogy panels on it, and I have the ability, the space, to put a third panel on there. So more than likely, I will take this panel off eventually and just slap it on the other van, increase my solar on that, and I will buy a larger panel, 250-ish watts for this. And the reason I am going to do that, while this is just fine, especially in the summertime, is I'm out sometimes at odd times of the year, weird weather times of the year. I like to be out in the winter sometimes, so it becomes a little more of a challenge getting enough solar off of a 100-watt panel if you're in odd areas. Now, if you're doing the thing and you're going to spend your winter in southern Arizona, you'll probably be all right. But if you're up in the mountains and daylight is at a premium like I am at odd times of the year, then it's going to benefit me to have more than that 100 watts of solar on here just to keep everything running. I also have more than one power station that I use sometimes. So I'm basically using one just running that refrigerator, and I'll use another little power station for other things. So I can do that and have more than one power station charged up off of solar if I have a larger panel. But for weekend warriors, those doing a trip or two during the year, those maybe just starting out and getting their feet wet, 100 watts is fine. Get it installed, get it going, see that you actually can pull this off, because I know, like anything else we do in life, when we've never done it before, it's kind of scary, and what if we do this wrong? What if I don't do that right? What if I make this mistake? You'll be fine. This stuff really isn't rocket science, except for the people that are trying to sell you really high-priced services that make it out to be so complicated, but it's not. You can do this. And if you find that that 100 watt works for you, great. If you find that you need a little more, even with a minivan, you have space to add a second panel. And you're going to basically cut your charge time in half with two panels instead of one. Just to prove this could be done, I went ahead and I ran this big pack of mine all the way down to 0. Yesterday morning at 0, I hooked everything back up, put it in the sun, and it was basically parked in the sun all day while I was out doing other things and doing some work. For those of you in that situation, you're probably going to be in a parking lot. If you're out at a museum or somewhere, you're probably going to be in a parking lot. This is going to happen a lot, so I had the value of full sun all day. And at the end of the day, this time, as the sun was going down, I had gotten this battery pack up to, this ran my refrigerator all night long. When I got up this morning, my big battery pack is at this percentage. So I left it in the sun again all day, about 90 degrees, pure sun all day, sealed up in here with barely the windows cracked here on the front, running that 12-volt refrigerator all day, keeping my food and drinks cold. Yes, it's a little more strain on the refrigerator. It's going to use a little more power, but we're absorbing plenty of power. And right now, with everything running, I am up to 85% on this pack. So I have gained all this percentage from where I was this morning up until now, even though it's still been powering that fridge all day. While I do have this plugged into the vehicle sometimes while I'm driving to get a little extra charge, I didn't do that this time. So all of these numbers is purely based on solar. So yesterday and today, I was able to take this thing from 0% to 85% going into tonight, running that refrigerator the entire time. So I am pleased with what a 100-watt panel was able to do. But again, especially if you can afford it, more isn't going to hurt you. especially when you get into the times of the year when the sun isn't as strong, you don't have as many hours of daylight or sunlight. Any questions you may still have, put those down below. I'll try to answer them. Other people that watch these videos will try to answer them. As always, let me know what I might be able to make a video on that would help you out, get started, or continue on with your own adventures. And we'll talk soon.